welcome to the first live stream of 2024. I'm joined with our product manager, Rarish. Hi, Rarish.
Hello, everyone.
Rarish is in his bat cave somewhere in Romania, brightly coloured. Thank you for turning on the Christmas lights for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Good. So we thought it'd be nice to just recap really for the year. Obviously, lots of people posting this time of year about, goals for 2024. But I guess for our product team, it was quite a busy year, and it'd be great to hear what some of the stuff we shipped and improved upon in 2023. So let's start it. 2023 wrapped. Don't we love Spotify and
Shopify?
So I think first thing I guess we want to chat about was the Google Analytics 4. I mean, right, it was a big year for Google Analytics. The big switch over, the big switch off of Universal Analytics. Tell us about kind of what how the year panned out for GA4.
Yeah, it was a crazy year. It was definitely the highlight of the year. Universal Analytics being sunset, everyone having to jump over Google Analytics 4 on 1st of July. We essentially we planned probably 2 years in advance for this connection to happen. It's not something that we came up in just a couple of months. We were one of the few API private beta testers for Google Analytics 4, and we started building the connections somewhere in 2021, I believe, and we finally launched a robust server-side connection with Google Analytics 4 at the beginning of 2023. Essentially, everyone had to migrate to Google Analytics 4 and forget about Universal Analytics. We thought it was going to be a big boom when Universal Analytics was going to be sunset, but that really wasn't the case. It seemed like all the fuss that Google tried to create, then they took it back and said, we're going to give everyone more time to get adjusted. We'll let you stay on Universal Analytics a bit longer. And now what we see in terms of adoption rates, pretty much everyone's now on Google Analytics 4. But we still see brands that use Universal Analytics, but not necessarily for reporting purposes, just to keep stocking up on the data and to be able to have like a year-on-year reporting capabilities and push that data into their data warehouses. But pretty much, we don't really hear anything about Universal Analytics anymore. Everything is around Google Analytics 4.
Yeah, definitely. And but it doesn't seem very long ago. I remember the beginning of 2023, a year ago, when people were worried, hey, GA4 isn't ready yet. People aren't ready to move. Yeah, this isn't going to work. This report isn't going to work. I mean, I think Google, to be fair, has shipped quite a lot of features and fixes in terms of reporting. It was pretty buggy, and I guess a frustrating journey for us because, as you say, to all intents and purposes, the connection was ready to go in 2022. It's just that maybe Google Analytics itself was not really ready to go. It was still sort of a bit glitchy.
Yeah, it's we're going to get into this topic later about data transparency and how you can make sure, even though you're pushing the data, is the data that's showing up in my reports. What I'm expecting to see is that the right data. It was basically a chicken and egg situation where, sometimes we thought maybe we're implementing wrong, maybe there's something wrong with Google. With Google Analytics itself, we had a lot of back and forth with their product managers, sharing feedback specifically about how attribution works. But at the end of the day, right, exactly, they had maybe a slower release, but now we see a lot of improvements going around, especially e-commerce features.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, to all intents and purposes, Google Analytics 4 is there, and in fact, it basically is Google Analytics, right? And it'd be interesting to see at some point where people just drop the 4 because it's a bit like iPhones. We no longer say I've got an iPhone 13, right? We just say I've got an iPhone. So I think it's become the norm, and I guess, but perhaps it's worth highlighting that obviously we have actually invested quite a lot of time over the last year. Let's say dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Lots of small improvements which improve the data quality, data accuracy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just like a build and forget. Like none of our connections are. You have to continuously improve on and maintain to be sure that we're providing the highest quality of data possible.
So the next topic, I guess, is sort of expanding beyond Google Analytics. So to talk us through kind of what we discovered about the brands we looked at earlier.
Yeah, so this is basically, we took a sample of our customer base, which we consider medium and large stores, and basically check where they spend the majority of their advertising and marketing money into. And you can already see some very interesting intersections between these diagrams. Well, obviously expected, Facebook Pixel and Facebook ads and Google are still like leading in terms of money that's being pushed into the platforms, also because they have a very big legacy behind them. You can see that TikTok and Pinterest actually are not that far away when you think about, what's the marketing stack that a large brand uses. You'd usually see like three. You either see Facebook, Google, or TikTok, and then you see Facebook, Google, or Pinterest. Because with these emerging platforms, and especially with TikTok, you think about it, massive user base, high engagement levels, new creative and interactive ad formats that allow you to be more genuine and more connected, especially to the younger audiences on the marketing. It seems like a no-brainer that you should be starting pushing content and ad spend into these kind of platforms, especially for a brand in the more, let's say, creative space, more flexible.
And I should point out that these numbers were the people who've installed the Pixel for these platforms. So it's not like their actual spend.
Yeah,
many brands are spending anywhere near the amount on Pinterest as they on Facebook or Meta, for example. But as you say, like, it makes sense to have more than just the two sort of duopoly at the top. You want to have a third bed, or even maybe a fourth bed in terms of marketing channel. The other thing that struck me about this chart was just how much overlap is between TikTok and Meta. I mean, almost no one who's doing kind of Facebook advertising is not also doing TikTok, because it kind of, if your brand is visual, if you want to engage, you say, with that demographic and stuff, then you might as well be on TikTok as well.
You might be on TikTok. Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's so super interesting. I mean, I guess perhaps the other point that aren't on the chart is that we did look beyond there, and it tails off quite quickly. Obviously, there are people that go and spend quite a lot of time and money on other platforms, maybe a Snapchat or some more specialist niche channels. But I guess we consider YouTube in the Google Ads bucket, but actually, honestly, beyond Google and Meta and TikTok and Pinterest, there really aren't large platforms that have that kind of reach, particularly in North America. So I think we decided, actually, let's support those four. So what that means is we launched 2 new connections. So ta-da!
Yeah, we did. So we also support TikTok and Pinterest server-side connections, and pushing all your customers' data points from Shopify to these ad platforms. As you mentioned, right? Especially for TikTok, it's like a fairly new platform in the US market. A lot of brands are like still experimenting with it. A lot of brands are still trying to understand the algorithm. It's not that easy just to start penetrating the market using these channels if you don't really understand how they work. And we believe that the first essential step into doing this is having the right data being sent from server to server. So then you can we take care of your data. Then you have time to think about all the creatives and the strategies that you want to implement on the platform.
And I guess we point out we're only a couple of years off, TikTok basically being banned in the US and Trump declaring them public enemy number 1. So they've somewhat rehabilitated themselves in the North American market, and you say a pretty growing choice for consumer brands.
Absolutely.
And I guess again, for people who know the data well, probably obvious, but perhaps we should recap what the point is there. That of these two apps actually, these 2 platforms, advertising platforms, do have their own apps for Shopify, their own sort of Shopify sales channels, and that's great if you want to do things the other way. You want to sell your products through those channels. But I think what we feel is that there's a gap there. There's room for a higher quality data feed if you want to analyze the traffic that you're using to go back to your Shopify store from the channels.
Yeah.
So yes, for those of you not aware of that, please do contact us about any more questions about TikTok or Pinterest. They were launched back in July, and they've just come out of sort of public beta. So we've got quite a lot of brands taking advantage of that. So I guess more generally, I mean, we could have alluded to this earlier, but obviously there's been a lot of a lot of effort in the air of just keeping up with Shopify. Tell us a bit more.
Yeah. So I mean, being a Shopify app, essentially, it's not only about just coming up with new features, building new connections. We also have to keep up with Shopify, and what that means is that we have to keep our title of being a reputable partner in the Shopify ecosystem. There are a lot of changes that are imposed by Shopify, a lot of best practices that are recommended by Shopify for all their app developers and partners. And sometimes this is equal amount of work that just goes behind the scene. It's something that allow us to always stay up to date with the newest Shopify features, to allow us to integrate with all the capabilities that Shopify is offering us app developers, and that makes us gives us the ability to serve our customers more in their features at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think we care. I mean, Shopify cares, but we care as well that we are seen to be a easy to use app. I mean, I think that there's so many apps in the App Store now. I don't know how many. It's certainly above the 100,000 mark. That I think obviously brands get incredibly used to installing and trashing quite quickly stuff that doesn't meet a very high bar of UX. So I think we've invested a lot of time making sure that it really feels like a Shopify experience, the best experience you should have. And to some extent, as with all online products, I guess don't make me think. I don't want to have to. I want to be able to almost use your app on autopilot. I don't want to have to sort of think too deeply. So that I guess that takes us to features like the automating the setup for Google Analytics 4, being able to just click through and just add some intelligent defaults without having to do too much.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention in 2023 we saw Shopify adding and building enabling a lot of features for data tracking analytics apps to help us have access to more data points, to do even more accurate tracking than it was possible before with the new web pixels and an upcoming server side web pixel. So there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scene with Shopify, and they're helping us grow together essentially.
Yeah. Okay, so now on to a slightly different thread, which was well, first of all, launched last January, the GA4 Conversion Checker. So why the Conversion Checker? Why do people care about that?
Yeah, so basically the Conversion Checker is a simple tool that highlights the differences between client side and server side tracking. We feel like whenever it's easy to talk about client side versus server side, but what does it actually mean? How does that translate into my data? Is something missing? Do I have any extra data points? So with the Conversion Checker, it's a simple tool that you can plug in your Google Analytics dashboard, and it will start scanning all of your transactions and seeing how many missing transactions you have, which transactions are missing, and how much potential revenue you haven't reported on. Yeah,
and I think we used to as a product do quite a lot of so audit checks. There was lots of more detailed, perhaps focus on some more detailed aspects of Google Analytics 4 setup. But I guess ultimately, the more customers you talk to, people really just care about the top numbers being accurate and really just getting confident that we do what we say. We have a very ambitious promise to track 100% of revenue, and that sounds perhaps unbelievable to some people. So I guess we wanted to show that what they had currently was not 100% and that it was possible. Which brings us on to the next bit of data validation, which is live order feed.
Yeah. So we were mentioning about data transparency before earlier. With live order feed, we basically want to raise the veil a bit in terms of how the data looks like, and the data might look in a way when it leaves Littledata, and then you need to wait for it to register in Google Analytics 4. That wasn't possible before, right? Whatever data was registered in Google Analytics 4, you had to, or in any other of your destinations, you just had to blindly trust. With live order feed, we want to give a genuine view of what orders are being tracked and all the order product impressions under each order. So at least you have high confidence that Littledata has what Littledata has tracked for you and what you should be expecting in your end destination.
And I think one of the features I particularly liked about it was that the send a test order button, so you can just get kind of instant feedback of the whole loop was working. Because I guess for particularly quite a lot of our customers would install on a test or development store before the main one, and the challenge of this store is they don't necessarily have like an order going through right now. So what you can do is effectively fake the order just to make sure that the whole server-side loop is working. That it's
it's important, especially with whenever you're installing an app such as Littledata, you would need to switch maybe from your different tracking method to Littledata. It's important to be able to immediately validate that everything is working, because even 1 hour of downtime or buggy tracking that can affect your business down the line. So it's important that you are able to send that test order to confirm that everything is working, alongside the fact that will not affect your overall reporting revenue, just an extra zero value order being reported on.
And so that the whole theme of data validation then takes us to what we're calling Littledata Assisted Revenue.
Yes, this is our one of our proudest releases to date. What we call Littledata Assisted Revenue. So again, it's highlighting Littledata Assisted Revenue is essentially a quantifiable metric that shows the capabilities of server-side tracking and the extra revenue that you are able to track because of our server-side solution compared to traditional tracking solutions like the Google Sales Channel.
Yeah.
So in the graph that you see before, you saw it just before. I don't know, the presentation keeps disappearing for me.
So I've moved it up again.
It's back up. Yeah. Essentially, you can see all the verticals that your business potentially selling and the revenue that is being generated. You're able to see the amount of revenue being tracked for upsells, for recurring orders, point of sales, draft orders. External platforms, essentially things like eBay, Amazon, Facebook shopping, Instagram shopping, and something very, very cool, what we call reconciled web orders. Those are the normal orders that go through the Shopify checkout. But the danger of having client-side tracking in that case is that whenever the script doesn't load, or maybe it's out blocked, you might be missing the order and was not reported on. So we have this capability of backfilling all of those missing client-side orders by using our augmented server-side solution.
Yeah, and I think also what's great is to be able to really visualize to customers the return on investment they're getting from Littledata, because obviously we're not. What the value we add is quite subtle, but very important, that actually they can get a lower customer acquisition cost and more marketing efficiency by better feeding the data into our platforms. But we know in this current climate, when people, obviously businesses all kinds are kind of trying to get to profitability and saving costs, we have to be really clear for brands exactly where we're adding value. And I think that some customers have commented this is a great sort of slide that they can share with their finance manager or something. Say, look, this is what Littledata is doing for us. Yeah. This is why we need it. So perhaps I'll just skip on to then I guess that last point you made about web order. That actually those orders are not useful unless you're also able to attribute them. So talk to us a little bit about how we're doing that better now.
Yes. So we, even before the official launch of Google Analytics 4, we were kind of foreseeing this issue, and for our customers, the infamous unassigned traffic channel, the newly introduced channel. It's not direct none, but it's unassigned. So essentially, Google cannot tell in any way where that traffic is coming from. And unfortunately, we've seen across all of our customer base that use any kind of in traditional Google Analytics tracker, an increase in this channel. So we work hard and came up with what we call order attribution boost. So basically, users that opt out of tracking or use any kind of ad blocking technology, there's a side effect, which means that the landing page is also not being tracked, and that kind of gets and all your UTM parameters get lost. So essentially, you won't be able to tell what was the original source of the order, where did the customer come from. So with this new feature, order attribution boost, we are able to preserve the UTMs, because you think about it, UTMs are not personal identifiable information, so they're still important to being tracked, even if you've opted out of tracking altogether, to be able to push this back to the orders. So whenever we see any kind of ad blocking technology, we are able to save the UTM parameters, preserve those along the anonymous user session, and then stitch them back to the order when the order is placed.
And I guess for those who are sort of squeamish about user privacy, I mean, obviously what we're not doing here is sort of we're not sort of overriding tracking the user. We're simply gathering these anonymous, what I call aggregate stats about the campaign data. So not down to user level, but just like which campaign, which channel, which is pretty essential for marketers trying to figure out what's working. So then, I know one of the features that you're particularly proud of was data pipeline settings. Tell us why we needed that.
Yeah, data pipeline settings. So whenever I get asked this question, you mentioned before, when it comes to little data, it's a very easy setup. You can set up a full server-side tracking schema within minutes. That also comes with a blessing and curse, because sometimes that just feels like it's maybe a bit, black box, and you can't really alter your data. So the data pipeline settings, what we wanted to achieve here is to give more control of the data back to the user, essentially being able to let's say change the format of their order identifiers or the product identifiers, to be able to exclude certain channels that they don't want to report on, right? Maybe you have some apps that some apps that do refunds or returns in the format of orders, and those usually inflate your data in Google Analytics. Maybe you want to filter those out, or maybe you just want to turn off, I don't know, a specific event you're not really interested in. You don't want to track that. So all of these features are available for all of our connections. So if you go into the Littledata app and you go to your desired connection, then you're going to see what we call like the command center, the control center of the say destination, where you can start customizing events, data format, tracking. You can customize the way things are being tracked.
And I guess one of the technically hard things to do, but we think essential things, was to be able to do this for every data destination, because increasing the brands we work with, as we talked about earlier, they're using us effectively, the router, to send all of their event data into the different marketing channels. And frankly, they might have different needs. Often, for just pure marketing targeting purposes in Facebook or TikTok, you might want to have maybe a smaller set of orders you're tracking, and then for analytics purposes, you might want to track all of the sort of draft and recurring orders. So you can have you can change those settings dependent on and make them different for each data destination.
That's right.
Cool. So I guess we should have a little shout out at this point to all the great team that's made this possible.
Yeah, shout out to our lovely development team, QA team, product team. We had an amazing year. What we just talked about is probably just a few of the countless releases, data improvements, maybe bug fixes. We're human, that we've done along the way. As I said at the start of this conversation, it's not, whenever we build a connection, it's never a build and forget. We need to maintain it. We need to add upon it. We listen to our customer feedback. Maybe we need more data points. Maybe we did an extra event. Maybe we did an extra trigger. And we're here to support all of those.
Yeah, I'm thank you from me for that team, because obviously, as we said, it's a constant effort to keep on track of what is a very fast moving space in marketing data, and I think we have an expert team doing that. So finally, I guess we should just have a quick talk about what's coming next. And I know one of the things that's next up this month is Klaviyo. So explain to us what the Klaviyo data destination will do on what we're currently doing.
Yeah. So if you look at our catalog of connections right now, we integrate with the biggest marketing and advertising platforms that are out there, but we are missing a sector that we need to be in, and that's the SMS and email marketing sector, and we're starting with Klaviyo. So with our upcoming Klaviyo server-side connection, what we will be doing is going to push extra data into your Klaviyo dashboard or account to be able to get more events, which translate in more emails going back to your customers. So to give like a very simple example, because of server side, we are able to send more add to cart events, which at the end of the day they translate in more potential abandoned cart events back to your customers, and that means that you will be potentially winning more on return of investment. Because if you think about like the traditional and why we're building this with the traditional Klaviyo tracking script and attribution, is that it's purely client side right now. So during our test, we were able to conclude that add to cart events are being missed, and that translates in fewer emails sent out to our customers. So also in terms of attribution, Klaviyo's attribution is pretty much binary. So if you have a ad blocking solution, or you clear your cookies, or maybe use a different browser or a different device, it's pretty impossible to identify you. So we're also coming up with a feature for Klaviyo called identity resolution, where we're going to tie even more data points to be able to recognize the end user to a certain email, to be able to push more emails out of the account.
So just to recap, so this is a feature for existing Klaviyo customers, people who who are using Klaviyo and probably are using it value to the max right now, and it's basically going to help them by enhancing on what Klaviyo already tracks from Shopify. It's going to enable them to get better performing abandoned browse and abandoned cart campaigns.
That's right.
So if you want to be part of the Klaviyo beta, we've got Raj put the email address on the screen, so they're a bit hidden there, and we're welcoming those this month. More generally, we'll be able to feedback over the next couple of months the kind of early results we're getting from that. But we know that based on, as you said, a combination of both this more accurate add to cart, more attributable add to cart, more accurate purchase tracking, the ability to target people who've not bought yet but were close to by email will be improved. So the exact uplift is TBC, but it could be as exciting as sort of 50 to 100% improvement in some of those campaigns. So that's pretty much a wrap. Was there anything you wanted more to mention about 2024 upcoming?
Yeah, maybe it's worth mentioning Google Ads actually, and they're not necessarily new, but fairly unpopular enhanced conversions API that goes alongside Google Ads. So yeah, Google Ads is pretty much used, pretty much the most used marketing channel.
It is the most. It is in terms of spend.
Yeah, so we do have a Google Ads connection that goes alongside our Google Analytics that allows you to set all the conversion tags and conversion labels on your website to be able to push that purchase information as a goal back to your Google Ad Manager. What has Google recently actually launched? I think it's maybe a 1 year old, is what they call their enhanced conversion API, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Enhanced conversions, yeah.
Enhanced conversions, yes. API, which allows for a better targeting and audience defining for all the data that you're pushing into Google Ads. So essentially, if you think about it, it's a hybrid solution between client side and server side. So while you're still required to push those conversion events from your tag from client side, now Google offers the ability to enhance that information by sending PI information about the user back to Google for them to be able to identify it, think it's pretty much similar to what Meta Copy does right now, right? Alongside the order information, the product information, we're able to send things like the email, the name, the phone number, all of those data points that allow Google to identify the user in their space and potentially, promising better results in your campaigns. That's something that we are exploring right now. It's fairly new and trying to understand, what's going to be the impact for our customers. But I do believe we're going to see a improved Google Ads connection coming from all the data this year.
Brilliant. So yeah, just to recap, we do currently support Google Ads, and you can add the conversion tags there, or actually what we recommend also importing what Google now calls key events, previously conversions from Google Analytics into Google Ads. But as you say, there's an opportunity, I think, to go a bit further and to become more and more relevant, as the ability to do client-side tracking with Google Ads sort of diminishes. Awesome. So thanks very much for telling us all about what we did in 2023 and also a bit where we're going in 2024. As ever, if you're interested in hearing more about what Littledata's doing or feeding back on some of the connections you're already using, please do get in contact with us. We love to hear from customers and from partners. And we'll be back next week with another session talking about data and how to use it better. Until then, thanks very much.
Thank you.